Evening, everybody. Make sure we're on there. All right, we're 2/3 of the way through lesson 3, and we'll probably get to lesson 4. Who needs a lesson? How are you, Allison? You doing all right? I'm all right. Who else? What do you got? Okay. No. No, that's sweet. Yeah. You got Sunday morning.
I work Sunday morning.
You have a 3? What do you need, Coach? Everything?
Let's see what we got here. I got 4. I've got 4.
3. You got- I'm telling you. Which one y'all need? 4? You want another one? All right, John, you got your lessons? All right, I got a couple 3s left and some 4s. If you decide you need one, just let me know. All right, we're going to continue our study in Proverbs here. Boy, I tell you, I appreciate all y'all that get your lessons early and get them filled out. Man, that does motivate me to make good lessons. All right, let's get settled in here. All right, let's have a prayer before we have our study tonight. David Estes, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. Thank you for all the many blessings you give us. Thank you for life and watching care over us. Father, I ask you to be with those that are sick or having health problems, be with them. Comfort them and those that are taken care of. Be with us, Father, to be a portion of your word. Be with us study. Open our hearts and our minds to your lesson, Father. Thank you so much for Jesus and what he did on the cross. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. Just some quick highlights from Lesson 3. Lesson 3, instructions from wise parents. And of course, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 says what? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of what? Knowledge. Okay, and a fool despises wisdom and instruction. And so in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8, it says, my son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother. A few chapters over in chapter 4, verse 1, hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. And so this chapter deals with wise parents instructing their children. And so we have made it almost 2/3 of the way through the lesson, looks like. You remember as we finished our last lesson, I think it's been 2 weeks ago, it's that last lesson and we were talking about the enticements of evil companions. You remember that? And where they were inviting the young person to come with us. Let's lie in wait to shed blood. Let's lurk secretly for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive. Let's find the weak victims and we'll take advantage of them. In verse 13, they said, we'll find all kinds of precious possessions. So this was something to attract that young person, to get them to follow these evil companions. It also said in verse 14, to cast your lot among us, let us have all one purse. So you can see all these things that say, come with us, you'll have a great life. You'll have a good life. You'll have all the stuff you need. And we talked about that, how that young people are coaxed into gang activity that way, especially disadvantaged young people. And so I believe that is where we left off. If any of you have a big X by your outlines, I think that's where my X is anyway. And so this is, let's see, part two, or section 2, part C. Is that right? The Father's warning reaffirmed. All right. Let's see.
Remember, it's stuff, but not the stuff you need.
It's stuff, but it's not the stuff you need. But it's stuff that's awful attractive to young people. And so we'll start in verse 15. All right. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 15. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path. So again, the father is warning the son not to walk in the way with these evil people, or these evil companions. And keep your foot out of their way of life, out of their path. All right. Some additional passages we can look at. Psalm 1, verse 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. So that young person who doesn't follow evil companions is what? Blessed. It's a blessed young person. And of course, we remember 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Don't be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. That's the New King James Version. Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. All right? That is the ESV version. And the NIV says, bad company corrupts good character. If you'll notice those verses, or that verse, I should say, 1 Corinthians 15:33, we always seem to look at the second part of that, but we don't pay too much attention, or at least I haven't in the past, to the first part. What's the first part of 1 Corinthians 15:33 say? Don't be what? Don't be misled. Don't be fooled. Don't be deceived. They corrupt good morals. So Paul wrote one time that we are not ignorant of Satan's devices or Satan's schemes, right? And so we have to be educated so we'll know, we'll recognize. Because sometimes some things look pretty good, don't they? Some things look awful enjoyable. Some things everybody else is doing, right? And so that gets in our brains and said, well, if everybody else is doing it, I can do it too. Isn't that what young people do? Isn't that what older people do too? They do, don't they, Tom?
Even Peter cut off Malchus's ear.
He got mad, didn't he?
He got mad.
He got mad and cut off that fellow's ear.
He wasn't aiming at his ear.
No, I hear he's going for that jugular vein there. Yeah. Yep, sure enough.
God said,
Don't what?
follow a multitude.
Don't follow a multitude to do evil. That's right. And so, with all these warnings, are we to just follow the crowd because that's what everybody else is doing? No, my mama used to say that all the time. Well, if they'd go jump in the lake, would you jump in it too? You know? Jesus said two paths, Kenneth says, the narrow and the broad, the narrow gate and the broad way. So this advice that this father is giving to his son is not just for young people. Not just for young people. All right? Proverbs chapter 1, verse 16, talking about those that might influence us to do wrong. Their feet run to evil, that they haste to shed blood, to take advantage of the weak, it says. These type of folks that might be trying to coax the young person into this bad lifestyle don't have inhibitions, right? They don't have inhibitions. What do they lack? If they don't have inhibitions, what do they lack? What's the last fruit of the Spirit? There you go, self-control. So these type of people don't have self-control. They don't have inhibitions. They don't have self-control. They see something, they just go get it, right? Can you imagine thinking that way? You go into a sporting goods store and there's a brand new whoop-de-doo 9623-4 rod and reel that you just can't, man, I've got to have that. And you just walk over and take it. No inhibition. People do that, Michael says, and he's absolutely right. And these are the, I'm sorry? Yes. Right. Just take whatever you want. So there's no self-control. And so they take advantages of doing evil. And so these are the things that the wise father here is warning.
You're a cops watching, man. There was one on there the other night with a lady that stole a widescreen TV and
Going down or walking down the road with a wide screen.
No, she crammed it in her car.
Oh, she put it in the car.
She couldn't close the door. They were following her down the road.
Okay.
She cried when they took it away from her.
Oh, really?
Bawled like a baby.
Oh, my goodness. If you didn't hear Michael, he's talking about an episode of Cops. Michael and I watch Cops sometimes, and said the lady had stolen a widescreen TV and couldn't get the door shut in the car. Was she driving down the road with the door
Her
open?
husband was driving down the road and they were moving down the road.
With the widescreen TV hanging out the window. Not wise.
It was one of your more entertaining.
Not wise. Okay. All right. Right. They have a skewed conscience or a skewed set of values, you know. Some people of this nature believe that they are entitled. You know, if I'm strong enough to take it, it's mine. You know, and so that mentality. I have trouble understanding that, but we can easily see it. We can easily see, and it's nothing new. As Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. People did the same thing 2,000, 6,000 years ago. So it's nothing. Proverbs tells us to train those children up the way they should go.
The generation before them didn't do it
They didn't, did they?
themselves.
Right.
So it just breeds a vicious cycle.
It's a cycle. That's exactly right. If the generation before acts that way, then the generation following will probably act that way. That's a good comment, Mary. Look at verse 17. If you follow along in chapter 1. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. Even a bird can look out for its own interests better than these fools that blindly enter fellowship with a wicked person. They don't see the problem. They don't see the trap coming up. Different commentators had said different things about this verse. Some said, you know, some birds will fly right into a net even if they see it. They'll just willing, and you guys that trap or have done that before,
They'll fly into a window and kill themselves too.
Janet's been feeding birds right out in our front yard, and we've had bird after bird hit that window and commit suicide right there. That's it, you know. We watched one little sparrow, though, one time, she or he hit that door and sat there, and I watched that thing, and it shook her head, and it sat there about 5 minutes and finally got about itself and went on, so it was lucky it didn't do that. Sometimes, I'll give you a good example. Sometimes young people, even though they know the danger, will go ahead and do it anyway. We'll do that too, won't we? No fear. You know what a fellow I used to work with, Joanne, used to say? You think you're immortal because you're young. You think you're going to live a long time. And he was right. For an extent, he was right about that. Because for me, like me, when I was 18 years old, I started smoking cigarettes. Well, I knew smoking cigarettes was bad for you. I knew it. I knew that 30 years down the road or 40 years down the road, you're going to get emphysema or you're going to get have lung problems or cancer. I knew that. And I was just like that bird flying right into that net. I knew it. I wasn't wise, was I, Tom? I wasn't wise. And so Solomon here says that, you know, young person, sometimes you're just like that bird flying into that net. You see it, but you're still going to fly into Satan's trap. All right, verses 18 and 19. Verses 18 and 19. Again, speaking about the evil people, he says, but they lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owners. I jumped ahead a little bit and wrote down Proverbs 15:27. I think, did I write you a question for that one? I don't think I did. Proverbs 15:27 says, he who is greedy for gain troubles his own house, but he who hates bribes will live. So Solomon here is talking about these who live this type of lifestyle. What do you think he means by the lay in wait for their own blood? What do you think? They lie in wait for their own blood. You have to do a little think. Waiting for their own destruction. That's right, Mary. They lurk secretly for their own lives. It's self-destruction, right? It's self-destruction. And he says these people, these evil people, are on a road to self-destruction. Mr. Goodrich, what did Mr. Goodrich used to say on the commercial? Y'all remember that? About 30 years ago? Pay me now or pay me later. Talking about changing that oil in your car. Yeah. Well, the Lord's saying that right now in this passage. So that, Michael, that Goodyear commercial wasn't original, was it? The Lord said this a long time ago, didn't he? Yeah. Nothing new under the sun. There we go again. So,
We're living in that self-destruct era, another one of them right now, because there's a lot of people self-destructing right now.
oh yeah, and always have, Mary. And sometimes it's more evident, I think, than others, but that's true. And so here he describes a certain way of self-destruction, though. The person that is greedy for gain says it takes away the life of its owner. Let's say as we end this lesson, let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. I'll let you turn over there. 1 Timothy chapter 6. We're going to waller around in that passage for a little bit, verses 6 through 10. And if you're answering those questions as we go along, you can answer those 14a through d there. All right, 1 Timothy chapter 6, beginning at verse 6. Guys, verse 6 is just write it on your forehead. Every time you look in a mirror, you see it. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Just be content with what you got. Because if you chasing stuff all your life, you know what? You're going to burn out like a crackling. You will. Godliness with contentment is great gain. And here's some wisdom for you, and you all know this, for we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we can carry nothing out. Job said in Job chapter 1, verse 21, he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and what? Naked I'll return. Won't have a thing when I'm gone. I think we've all probably seen those pictures, or there's probably a video now of a fella that got buried in the Mercedes-Benz, and one, you know, and we think we can take those with us, but we're really not. We're just putting them in the ground. Brought nothing into this world, you're going to take nothing else. And verse 8 is kind of sobering, because God tells us here, you got some food, you got some clothes on your back, be content with that. That don't fit into the American dream, folks. It don't. It don't fit into the American dream. And so there are going to be hard times for some people. And you know, if we see somebody, all they got is food and clothes, we say, oh, the poor souls. But God here says that's all you need. And that's all He promised us in Matthew chapter 6, toward the end of the chapter. And that's sobering to me to think about that. You know, that's the way God feels about it. And so there are passages in the Bible that tell us, you know what, you need to use your possessions, use your wealth for the Lord's work. You need to do that. He goes on to say, but those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. And we all know this, we get it backwards sometimes or wrong, but the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare. We were just talking about that, weren't we? We were talking about the bird that flew into the net even though he saw it. Can I fly into the net trying to keep up with the Joneses? I can't I? I can become so focused and so distracted that I lose track of what I'm really supposed to be all about. I can be so focused on gaining and doing those things. You can put yourself in a bind, Michael says. He's right. He's right. And so we have to be careful. Think about, I mentioned Job just a little bit. You know, he lost everything he had. But before Job lost everything he had, what did he have? A lot of stuff. Thousands of animals, hundreds of servants, all that. So Job was still pleasing in God's eye, even before, right? He had the right attitude, Kenneth. That's exactly right. He had the right attitude about it.
And he was always helping other people too.
He helping other people. So his motives were pure. Okay? He wasn't just doing all that for him, but God had blessed him with all these things. And so,
His friends were feeling that he wasn't right with God.
right. His friend said, oh, Job, something's wrong with you, bud. You did something bad. You sure did. You did something bad. And so we're just told here the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Now notice this. For which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Chasing the American dream can cause us to lose our faith. I know that's probably not a very popular statement, but again, Kenneth said it right. If our attitude's right, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? As long as we keep things balanced. You keep things balanced. Keep things in the right perspective. That's what God's telling us here. What if you gain the whole world and lose your own soul? It's what Jesus said. What good is it going to do?
And that's happening to a lot
It is. It's happening to a lot of people. We get distracted thinking that certain things are going to make us happy, certain things, if we have this stuff, we'll be better off, and we'll be in a better position and all that. But it's all in your attitude. It's all in your attitude. Boy, I have known people that we would call poor. And they were the most satisfied people I believe I'd ever met in my life. It didn't bother them that their car was out there with haywire holding it together. They didn't care. They'd get in it and crank it and drive to California. They had faith, boy, I'm telling you. And they didn't have the finest clothes and didn't live in the finest house or any of those things. But they were just so satisfied with life, enjoyed life and had a good time. And I think the Lord wants us to have that kind of attitude, with Him being in the forefront. Okay? Put the Lord first. All right. All right, so that wraps up this lesson. We've got just a few minutes here. And so we'll begin in lesson 4. Everybody got a lesson 4 or got a lesson 4 filled out? Some of you already got it filled out. Good for you. Good for you. All right. So there is a little review at the beginning, and we've already talked about most of these things. So in this lesson, we're going to see wisdom calling out to the unwise person. But that simple-minded person won't pay attention. All right? Won't pay attention. I was going to do some reading and studying because I was curious to know why Solomon describes wisdom as a female character. Y'all figure that out and let me know. Huh? She's smarter. I know where Joanne's going. Yeah. He picked the smartest one of the two, didn't he, Tom? That's right. I'm going to do some research, and I meant to do that earlier and just it left my mind. And I'll try to do that by the time we get to next lesson. We'll talk about that a little bit. So let's go ahead and we can get started at the public invitation of wisdom in chapter 1, verses 20 through 23. All right, wisdom calls aloud outside. She raises her voice in the open squares. She cries out in the chief concourses. At the openings of the gates in the city, she speaks her words. What does this tell us about wisdom? Where is wisdom? Is it private? No, it's public. The availability is public. The availability seems to be for everyone because wisdom calls outside. And it talks about open squares, which would be in a city, chief concourses. Some of you, what's the NIV say, Thresia, instead of concourses? It don't even say that. That's why it ain't the Holy Bible. No, I'm kidding. Okay. But yes, the NIV does leave some things out. It does. It does. Well, it didn't work on your... Okay, you need to get you a new King James so you can work your lesson. All right. Concourses, that's streets. Is that what that is? A concourse? A street? Okay. All right. So wisdom here is calling out to anybody that'll listen. All right. And it's available.
It's not hard to find.
It's not hard to find. It's right. Okay. Okay, Mike, that's a good comment. It's not hard to find. Yeah, James chapter 1, verse 5, you just got to ask God. And I think Kenneth will hit that several times in our lesson, for sure. When wisdom calls out, that's God calling out. That's what Mary says. All right. But listen to verse 22. Verse 22. How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. I've got the New American Standard version of that verse here too. Instead of simple, it uses the word naive. All right, how long will you naive ones love simplistic thinking? All right. So, three individuals that need wisdom here. What's the first one? What's the first person that needs wisdom? What's the first person that needs wisdom? Well, that's one, Michael, and that's fine. A scorner is one. A mocker, I think maybe some versions say. How about the simple person? Okay? Or naive person. Naive, I think, would fit our vernacular probably a little better. We probably use that word rather than simple. Maybe even in our time, the word simple is a derogatory term, maybe. Okay? I'm not sure. Simpletons, yeah. And so yeah. Gullible, yeah, gullible might be a good word. Gullible, but in this instance, someone who doesn't know anything doesn't want to know anything. All right. For instance, we have to give an offering. The Lord said on the first day of the week, lay something aside. But what if I don't know the Bible says that? And I want to keep my money. Well, I don't want to know that the Lord said, lay something aside. I don't want to know that. Don't tell me that. And so I think that's kind of what Solomon's talking about here. What's the cliche? I guess it's a cliche. Ignorance is, okay, you all know that, right? So what are you laughing about? That's right, isn't it? Everybody knew what it was. And so I think that's probably the situation that Solomon's talking about here. If I don't know something's wrong, I'm good, right? You're still going to be held accountable. That's what we're taught in Romans for sure. But
ignorance is no longer bliss. We got this word.
right, ignorance, it really isn't bliss. Okay, it might make you feel better. It might ease your conscience or keep your conscience from bothering you if you don't know something. But for sure, Solomon here is saying those who don't know something, their betterment, don't care to know anything. Scoffers make fun of knowledge, right? I read something this morning about someone who scoffed because we're Christians. Stupid Christians. Stupid people who go to stupid churches and listen to stupid people talk. Just scorning. Terrible.
Scoring teachers nowadays too. I've read on Facebook.
Everybody gets scorned sometime, Mary, at one point or another, I think. So scoffers or scorners, and then a fool who hates knowledge. Okay, so those are the three people. The fool is the one whose heart is hardened and won't hear knowledge. So here Solomon gives those that refuse wisdom. All right, that was the first bell, right? Okay. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and hit verse 23, and then we'll start at wisdom's warning next week. Okay? Verse 23 says, "Turn at my rebuke. Surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you." Again, an invitation from wisdom. Say, hey, here it is. All you got to do is take it. All you got to do is take it. What did Jesus say in the very end of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, starting at verse 24? He says, you listen to what I say, I'll liken you to a man who built his house on the rock. Okay? I'll make you a wise person. So you want to be a wise person? Learn what Jesus said. Learn what Jesus taught. Because the person that doesn't pay attention to what Jesus taught is like a man who built his house on the sand. And we know that. We teach that to our children, and they sing the song. hopefully we sing along with them, so we're reminded about that for sure. All right. So wisdom here is calling for repentance for those three people that refused to hear her. And again, as Kenneth said from James chapter 1 verse 5, it's still offered to us today. All right, put a big old X there by Part B, Wisdom's Warning. That's where we'll start next week. Thank y'all so much. Y'all helped a lot tonight. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, it's about time for us to get started. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Let's see, pantry item for the Family Protective Services is dishwashing detergent, and for the House of Recovery is paper plates. On our prayer list, Miss Shirley, they wanted us to announce that Miss Shirley is now under hospice care and that they really could use our prayers. So we'll do that. Talked to Landon. He said Angela got her cast on today, I think, and she's got her one of them one-knee scooters like old Mike. But I don't know if you can't walk across a piece of carpet without falling, if you need to be running around on one of them or not. Let's see. Miss Lottie, hadn't heard from her this week. Don't forget Marcia, Mike, Howard will have his surgery this fall. Donna's doing her test. Scotty's struggling. No news on Lexi? Nothing. There better not be no news if I hadn't heard no news. Yeah, today's the day, right? I thought this was her due date. Oh. Okay. And Jim Goodrick. Remember all our friends and neighbors. Devo list, Billy's got our Devo tonight, followed by Skylar, Mark, and Mike. Let's see, this is the 16th, so happy birthday, Jessica. And Donna, too. Good. Then the 18th is Kristen, the 19th is Miss Marcy and Logan Jones. Does anybody have anything else that I missed? All right. Yes, but no visitors.
Did you also mention thinking about Saturday and Sunday night?
Yeah. So the sign-up sheet
Back here.
is back in the back. What are you calling that thing, Scott?
It's just the kickoff, the LTC kickoff.
LTC kickoff. Okay. All right. Sunday night, but sign up in the back. If please do.
Anybody, it's for parents, kids, anybody that might want to volunteer, I want you to come too, anybody.
Gotcha.
So
Anything else? All right. What was it? 589. 589 is the invitation song. Billy.
I got brave enough to try it up here tonight because I usually do it down there since I've been kind of ailing and balance been all out of whack. Tonight I'd like to talk to you about we don't never know when our time is, and it got really slapped me up back of the head whenever doctors tell me my heart stopped for 13 seconds, and then to know that it happened to me about 4 or 5 times before I got being hard-headed enough, not being hard-headed enough to go to the doctor. And well, first thing, I had a little spell of it, and then whenever Judy pretty much forced me to go to the doctor, plus they called the house and said, your heart stopped for 13 seconds, you need to get to the hospital right now so you can get a pacemaker put in. So they rushed me to the hospital, put a pacemaker in me, and it's like God slapped me in the back of the head and said, hey, you need to straighten your act up. Hopefully, y'all haven't had that experience, but God, He has a way of waking us up sometime, and hopefully we can study and know what to do so that we don't have that problem that I had of not just being stubborn and mule-headed and just hard to get along with and everything else. But I do hope that anybody who needs some help tonight, if you'll come, we stand and sing the invitation song.
Jesus is tenderly calling me home, calling today, calling today. Why from the sunshine
And then we'll have our closing prayer. Is there anything else that needs to be mentioned before we, sing this song and dismiss? 279, one verse only.